I've been reborn, back to 2 months after that wild night with Dick. In my past life, I was pregnant with this man's child. He tossed me a check from on high, demanding I terminate the pregnancy. For the sake of ridiculous love and pride, I tore up the check and clung desperately to the relationship, only to be driven to a double tragedy by his first love. When he found me again in this lifetime and flung the identical check at me, I was about to refuse it just like I did in my past life. Suddenly, I heard the voice of the child growing inside me, "Mom. Snap out of it. Stop being so love-struck. Last lifetime, you rejected him, and he immediately got engaged to his first love. We were mocked across the entire internet, and you even jumped off a building after suffering from postpartum depression. Hurry up and take this money to invest, it'll multiply 100-fold in 2 years. Wait, 100-fold? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Dick stood at my door, his handsome face etched with impatience and contempt. He flung a check onto the table as though swatting away an annoying fly. 10 million. Cash it, he said, his voice cold and devoid of warmth. I stared at the check, its staggering number of zeros blinding me. In my past life, it was precisely this very check that had driven us to a complete and utter falling out. I had thought it was an insult, a trampling of my dignity. I tore the check to shreds and yelled at him with red eyes, "Dick, what do you take me for? I love you, not your money." Looking back now, it was utterly stupid. Love him? Love a sworn enemy who's been opposing me at every turn since high school, who sees me as a thorn in his side. I must have been kicked in the head by a donkey to have such an illusion. Just as I reached out, the voice in my gut spoke up again, "Mom. Don't be impulsive. Last time you tore up the check, that bastard cursed you for being ungrateful, but deep down he was thrilled, he thought you loved him so deeply, satisfying his pathetic vanity." My outstretched hand paused briefly before gracefully and deliberately plucking up the check. 10 million? I held it up to the light, studying the figures carefully, then let a smile curve my lips. Dick sure is generous. Dick furrowed his brow. He clearly hadn't anticipated my reaction. None of the crying, clinging, or confessions he'd expected had materialized. I carefully tucked the check into my purse and looked up at him. "I'll take the money, and I'll handle the child cleanly. But I have one condition." "Speak." His words were sparse, yet the intensity in his eyes grew deeper. "We need to sign an agreement," I said slowly. "It'll state that we're even from now on, with no further ties. You can't bother me about this again, and you definitely can't have your precious first love come looking for trouble." At the mention of his first love, Sally, Dick's expression darkened. "You have no right to bring her up." Oh no, oh no. Of course he was panicking. His white moonlight was a pro at playing the innocent victim. If she found out he'd gotten another woman pregnant, she'd throw a tantrum and drive him absolutely crazy. The smile on my lips deepened. "I just don't want any trouble." "Dick, you don't either, right?" He stared at me intently, as if he could bore a hole through my face. After a long moment, he ground out 2 words through clenched teeth, "Fine." Just then, his phone rang. The screen flashed Sally. He answered, his voice instantly softening by an octave, "Sally, what's up?" "I'm fine, just dealing with a little trouble." "Okay, I'll be right over." After hanging up, his gaze turned icy again as he looked at me. "I'll have my lawyer draft the agreement and send it over. You'd better be careful." With that, he walked away without looking back, as if lingering a second longer would disgust him. Watching his hastily retreating figure, I finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. The day after getting the money, I headed straight for the city's largest stock exchange. "Mom, it's that Chiming Technology, ticker starts with 688. Stock's at 1.20 now. Just go for it with your eyes closed." I scanned the sea of green on the big screen and spotted the inconspicuous Chiming Technology. Its trading volume was pitifully low, clearly a junk stock nobody wanted. I walked up to the counter and told the account manager, "Hello, I'd like to buy all available shares of Chiming Technology." The manager, a middle-aged man in his 40s, pushed his glasses up and looked at me as if I were an idiot. "Miss, are you sure? This stock is about to be delisted. Putting your money into it is basically throwing it down the drain." "I'm sure. Miss, investing carries risks, you'd better think it through carefully. Seeing how young you are, I wonder if this money is." This stubborn fool, why waste words on him? "Just tell him if you lose, you'll jump off the tallest building here. See if he'll back down." My lips twitched. "Manager," I cut him off, "this money is mine. And I trust my judgment." Before he could protest further, I slammed my bank card down on the table and emphasized, "Buy it. All of it." He was intimidated by my presence and reluctantly processed my paperwork. With the investment secured, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. In my past life, I lived like a half-dead soul for that ridiculous love. This time around, I only want money, and my child. I rented a well-secured apartment, not huge, but big enough for me and the baby. Just as I was settling in, an unfamiliar number popped up on my phone. I glanced at the caller ID, Joy, Sally's top lackey. In my past life, she used the excuse of doing it for my own good to report my every move to Sally, letting Sally humiliate me time and again. I pressed the answer button. "Hello? Hetty? It's Joy." The voice on the other end sounded overly enthusiastic. "What's up?" I asked casually. "Oh, I heard you've been going through something lately. Are you okay? Sally's really worried about you, but she's afraid Dick might misunderstand if she contacts you directly, so she asked me to check in." "Mom, cry. Cry your heart out. Tell her you're so poor you can barely afford food, that you regret everything. Let's see what she has to say." I gathered my emotions, and my voice immediately cracked with tears. "Joy, I'm so miserable. I'm all alone now, my money's almost gone, and I lost my job. I don't know what to do." There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line before Joy's voice came through, her excitement barely contained. "Hetty, don't cry. If you're having a hard time, just tell us. How about we meet up? I'll buy you coffee." "Okay." I agreed, sobbing. After hanging up, the sadness vanished from my face. "Sally, you want to see me fail? I'll show you what it means to bring shame upon yourself." I met Joy at a fancy coffee shop. I deliberately wore a faded old t-shirt, no makeup, and my hair was a mess. When Joy arrived, I was slumped over the table, shoulders heaving as I cried. Seeing me like this, the smugness in her eyes nearly overflowed, though she still put on a concerned expression. "Hetty, what's wrong? Stop crying and tell me what happened." I looked up, revealing a weary face with reddened eyes. "Joy, I regret it. I shouldn't have taken Dick's money. He must despise me even more now." "Oh, how could you think that?" Joy patted my hand with feigned concern. "Dick didn't mean it that way. He just cares too much about Sally." Just as they were talking, the cafe door opened. Sally, dressed in a pristine white dress, glided in like an ethereal white lotus, graceful and delicate. She walked straight to our table and, upon seeing me, immediately wore an expression of surprise and heartache. "Hetty? What have you done to yourself?" Joy jumped up. "Sally, you're here." "Hetty, Sally interrupted her, gently sitting beside me and taking my hand. "Hetty, I know you're hurting. Dick, well, he's just like that. He doesn't mean any harm. Mom, keep acting. Tell her you're at the end of your rope and have no choice but to rely on her." I grabbed Sally's hand with my free hand, tears falling like beads from a broken string. "Sally, you're the only one who's ever been good to me. I've lost everything now. What am I supposed to do?" Sally's halo of maternal devotion flared instantly. "Don't be afraid, I'm here for you. Don't worry about the money. That 10 million Dick gave you, does it feel like a hot potato? No problem, I'll help you pay him back. A girl's dignity matters more than anything. We can't bow down just for money." As she spoke, she gazed at me with such benevolence, as if she were saving all sentient beings. In a past life, I fell for her sweet talk and returned that 10 million. And what happened? She turned around and told Dick that I was playing hard to get, trying to grab his attention that way. Dick grew to despise me even more, while I became the biggest laughingstock in the entire circle. This time around, I stared at her hypocritical face and sneered inwardly. "Sally, you're absolutely right." I nodded vigorously, my face lighting up with sudden understanding. Dignity is the most important thing. But, if I pay back the money, I'll really have nowhere to go. I looked at her pitifully. "Sally, you're so kind, and your place is so big, could you take me in for a while?" Sally's smile froze on her face. Joy beside her also froze. They probably never imagined I'd make such a request. Ha 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 ha. Nice work. Let's see how she tries to act now. If she dares refuse, her whole kind and generous persona will crumble. If she dares agree, she'd better be prepared to be driven crazy by my mom. Sally's expression shifted repeatedly, and finally, she managed to force a smile. "Sure, of course. My home is your home." On my very first day staying with Sally, I made her understand what it means to invite a guest in easily but find it hard to send them away. Her place was a sprawling downtown penthouse, lavishly decorated. The moment I stepped inside, I couldn't help but gush like a country bumpkin in the city. "Wow. Sally, your place is huge. That chandelier must have cost a fortune. Is this carpet real silk?" As I spoke, I rolled around unabashedly on the leather sofa. Sally's face turned green, but she forced a smile. "As long as you like it." Come mealtime, the servants laid out a feast. I dug in without restraint, devouring everything like a whirlwind, my mouth dripping with grease. "Sally, your cook is amazing. Better than any 5-star hotel." Sally watched my messy eating habits, her eye twitching. That night, I hogged her huge bathroom, soaking in a hot bath for 2 hours and using up half a bottle of her most expensive essential oil. When I emerged contentedly in my bathrobe, Sally was sitting in the living room with a dark expression. "Hetty, you." "Sally, thank you." "I haven't slept so soundly in ages," I interrupted her, then yawned widely. "I'm so tired. I'm going back to bed. Good night." I ducked straight into the guest room, leaving Sally alone in the living room, raging helplessly. Awesome. So awesome. My mom finally stood up for herself. This Sally is nothing but a paper tiger. The more you push her around, the less she can do about it. Over the next few days, I took the phrase "pressing one's advantage" to the extreme. I wore her designer clothes, used her limited edition handbags, and even accidentally smashed one of her priceless antique vases. Sally was on the verge of breaking down every single day, but to maintain her kind persona, she had to swallow her pride and keep it all bottled up inside. Finally, she couldn't hold back any longer. She found Dick, tears streaming down her face. "Dick, I don't know what to do anymore. Hetty's staying at my place, and I meant to take good care of her, but she seems to take my kindness for granted." Dick was furious when he heard the news. He immediately called me. "Hetty, have you no shame? Get the hell out of Sally's house right now," he roared into the phone, barely containing his rage. I scratched my ear, feigning innocence. "Dick, what do you mean? Sally invited me to stay out of kindness." "Stop playing dumb. You've got 1 minute to get out of here." "But, where am I supposed to go?" I said plaintively. "I'm penniless and homeless." "Dick, you can't just leave me out on the street, can you? What if something happens to me? The baby inside me." I deliberately let the last syllable trail off. Silence fell instantly on the other end of the line. "Well done. Use the kid to get to him. He's terrified that his precious little darling will make a scene over this." After a long pause, Dick's gritted voice finally broke the silence. "Send me the address." Dick had arranged for me to stay in one of his luxury apartments. The place was spacious and lavishly decorated, surpassing even Sally's home in opulence. He tossed me a card. "There's $500,000 in here. I'll transfer money every month without fail. Don't bother Sally anymore." I took the card, my eyes crinkling with a smile. "Thanks, Dick." Seeing my greedy expression, the disgust in his eyes deepened. "Hetty, I never imagined you could be so despicable. Go ahead and curse me. Cursing my mom won't hurt me. Just wait till our stocks double, then I'll use my mom's money to crush you." I couldn't care less about his insults. Instead, I leaned closer and whispered, "Dick, it's mutual. Aren't you doing the same thing? Spending money to keep me, this lowly woman, just to appease your white moonlight?" His face instantly turned ashen. I successfully drove him away. Alone in the empty, spacious house, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Though juggling Dick and Sally was exhausting, seeing them get their comeuppance felt incredibly satisfying. Just as I was about to savor this hard-won peace, my phone rang. It was my good friend Joy. "Hetty, did you move out of Sally's place? Where'd you go?" "Well, Dick found me a new place to stay," I said deliberately vaguely. "Oh. I see. Sally, she's been feeling really down lately. She thinks she didn't take good enough care of you, that's why you left. She's been blaming herself. Mom, she's trying to make you feel guilty so you'll go back to her willingly and let her manipulate you." I sneered coldly. "Is that so? Then tell her I'm very grateful for her care. When the time comes, I'll be sure to repay her properly." I deliberately emphasized the pronunciation of the words "take care" and "repay." Joy must have picked up on my unspoken meaning, because she hung up awkwardly. Barely 2 days of peace had passed before new troubles came knocking. The internet suddenly flooded with news about me. Each headline was more vicious than the last. Shocking. Campus beauty falls for money, willingly becomes rich man's plaything. The 10 million price, uncovering gold digger Hetty's rise to power. The news story included numerous photos, some of me getting out of Dick's car, some of me moving into a luxury apartment, and even a few from my high school days. The article painted me as a gold digger who had schemed since my student days and would stop at nothing for money. Overnight, I became the target of online condemnation. My phone was flooded with abusive and hateful messages. No need to guess, this was Sally's doing again. She was trying to completely ruin my reputation and make me socially dead. Just then, an unknown number called. I picked up the phone. A commanding female voice came through. "Is this Hetty? I'm Dick's mother. Come to my house right now." The Fu family mansion stood solemn and imposing, like a vast prison. No sooner had I stepped into the living room than a blue and white porcelain teacup whizzed past my cheek, crashing to the floor with a bang and shattering into pieces. "You're Hetty?" From the sofa's head seat, a woman in a cheapao, radiating regal elegance, stared at me coldly. Her gaze was like a blade tempered in ice. She was Dick's mother, Erin. In my past life, it was right here that she forced me to kneel, subjecting me to utter humiliation. Sally sat beside her, head bowed, looking as though she'd suffered the greatest injustice. As soon as she saw me, she jumped to her feet, hurried over, took my hand, and her eyes were red. "Hetty, you finally made it. Auntie, she just got so upset after seeing the news. Don't take it to heart." She acted with such feeling, as if she truly cared about me. What a drama queen. The Oscars owe her a little gold statue. Mom, don't be scared. You're carrying their child right now, that's your biggest trump card. Bring out your queenly presence. I shook off Sally's hand and looked Erin straight in the eye, neither humble nor arrogant. "Madam, you actually believe what's in the news?" Erin snorted coldly. "Those photos, are they fake? You dare say you didn't take my son's money? You dare say you didn't move into the apartment he arranged for you?" "I took it, and I kept it," I admitted plainly. "But I deserved it." "You deserved it?" Erin snorted as if hearing the biggest joke ever. "What gives you the right? Just because of that piece of flesh in your belly?" Her gaze fell on my flat stomach, filled with contempt and disgust. That's right. I straightened my back. Because of him. He's your family's bloodline, Dick's first child. Is that reason enough? Aaron was speechless at my words. Their family had been an only child lineage for 3 generations, dwindling in numbers. As the sole heir, Dick's issue of offspring had always been a top priority. Sally saw what was happening and quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Auntie, please don't be angry. Hetty just made a mistake in the heat of the moment. Hetty, go apologize to Auntie right now. Then we'll let this whole thing go, okay? She tried to pull the same old trick again, trying to make me back down. I looked at her and suddenly laughed. Sally, what business is it of yours? I'm the child's mother. And you? What are you, anyway? Sally's face instantly turned ashen. She probably never imagined that I, usually so meek, would say such harsh words in public. You. She stammered, trembling with rage. Me? I pressed her relentlessly. Don't forget, Dick's my sugar daddy now. Don't you find it disgusting how you keep calling him Dick? Or is it that you've got some improper designs on me, his sugar daddy? You're lying. Sally screamed. The atmosphere in the living room instantly turned frosty. Aaron's face turned grim. Just then, Dick came downstairs. Seeing the scene before him, he frowned deeply. Enough. What's all this commotion about? Dick's arrival felt like finding a rock for Sally. She immediately threw herself into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Dick, did you hear what she said? How could she slander me like that? Dick patted her back soothingly, his gaze fixed on me, filled with fury. Hetty, apologize. Those same 2 words again. In my past life, he'd been the same, blindly demanding apologies without understanding the situation. Watching them embrace, I felt nothing but utter irony. Mom, don't back down. Let's make a scene today. Show them we're not pushovers. I took a deep breath and met Dick's gaze. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? You slandered Sally and talked back to my mother, you think you're in the right? Dick's voice was as cold as ice. I'm just stating the facts. I looked at Sally in his arms. Sally, you dare say those online news stories have absolutely nothing to do with you? Sally's body stiffened, and her sobbing stopped. She lifted her head, her eyes brimming with tears, and looked at Dick. Dick, I didn't. I really didn't. You didn't? I sneered. Then dare you swear? Swear on your future with Dick. If you're lying, you'll never be together for all eternity. Sally's face turned ashen in an instant. Of course she wouldn't dare. After all, she was the one who had leaked those news stories. Dick wasn't stupid. Seeing Sally's reaction, a flicker of suspicion crossed his eyes. Aaron watched it all unfold, her expression growing increasingly grim. Though she disliked me, she could not tolerate a scheming woman lingering near her son. Enough. Aaron snapped. This matter ends here. Hetty, the child you carry is ours after all. You'll stay here until the baby is born. She turned to Dick. You. Come with me to the study. Dick glanced at me with a complicated look in his eyes, but ultimately followed Aaron upstairs. Only Sally and I remained in the living room. She glared at me with venom in her eyes. Hetty, don't get too cocky. I won't let you get away with this. Is that so? I shrugged indifferently. Then we'll just have to wait and see. With that, I ignored her completely, walked straight over to the sofa, sat down, and poured myself a glass of water. Sally watched my relaxed demeanor and nearly choked on her own anger. She stamped her foot and stormed off in anger. I knew she wouldn't let this go. But I wasn't the same Hetty who'd let herself be pushed around anymore. Sally, bring it on. After I moved in, Aaron still gave me the cold shoulder. But out of consideration for the baby I was carrying, she assigned her best nutritionist and servants to look after me. I was happy to take it easy, eating and drinking every day while resting comfortably to nurture the pregnancy. Chiming Technology's stock began skyrocketing like a rocket. Within just 1 month, my initial investment of $10 million had already multiplied 5-fold. Everything was moving in the right direction. Dick hasn't been seen since Aaron called him into the study that day. I guess Aaron must have given him a warning. Sally, however, wasn't about to give up and came up with another scheme. That day, Ida, one of Aaron's card-playing friends, came to visit, and Sally tagged along. As soon as she saw me, she warmly took my hand. "Hetty, look at you, you've gained weight. Auntie must be taking good care of you." She spoke words of concern, yet her eyes kept darting toward my belly. 3 months into my pregnancy, my lower abdomen was already slightly rounded. Ida leaned in to look, her face brimming with curiosity. "Oh my, is this Dick's?" She didn't finish her sentence, but the implication was clear. Aaron's expression darkened. Sally feigned innocence. "Yeah. I wonder if it's a boy or a girl. With Dick being so outstanding, the child is bound to be smart too." Her words, while seemingly praising me, were actually a reminder to Aaron that the child in my womb was of unknown origin. We didn't even know its gender. Aaron's frown deepened. Here it comes, the ultimate move, paternity testing. In my past life, she used this very tactic to make Aaron completely suspicious of me. She bribed the doctor to forge the test results, claiming the child in my womb wasn't Dick's. I was driven from my home, unable to defend myself, and ultimately died in childbirth in a rented room. Hearing my baby's heartbeat, my own sank. Sure enough, Sally smiled at Aaron and said, "Auntie, I heard you can get a non-invasive paternity test done as early as 3 months now. It's completely harmless to both the baby and the mother. Why don't we take Hetty to get one done? It'll put everyone's mind at ease and stop all the gossip outside." Ida chimed in immediately, "Exactly. Let's get it authenticated, that way everyone can rest easy." All eyes turned to me. Aaron looked at me, her gaze brimming with scrutiny and doubt. I knew there was no escaping it. If I refuse, it would only prove I have something to hide. I lifted my head to meet Sally's triumphant gaze and said calmly, "Fine." I paused, then added, "But I have one condition." "What condition?" Aaron asked. "The examination is acceptable, but it must be conducted at the Military General Hospital." I looked at Sally, enunciating each word carefully. Furthermore, from the blood draw to the results, I required Dick to be present throughout the entire process. My proposal caused Sally's expression to change instantly. The Military Region General Hospital is the most prestigious hospital in the country, with extremely tight security. For her to pull something off inside would be next to impossible. What's more, Dick had to accompany her throughout the entire process. Her little scheme had completely backfired. "Hetty, what do you mean by that?" Sally forced a smile. "Don't you trust me?" I just wanted to put everyone's mind at ease. "It's not that I don't trust you," I said calmly, "it's that I don't trust anyone. This concerns Dick's bloodline, better safe than sorry." Aaron nodded thoughtfully at my words. "We'll do as she says." She put an end to the matter once and for all, and Sally dared not raise any further objections. On the day of the paternity test, Dick showed up as expected. Dressed in a black suit, his expression was cold and impassive, betraying no emotion. From the moment I drew blood to when the sample was sent for analysis, he remained by my side the entire time. Sally followed along too. She stood not far away, her face pale, her eyes filled with reluctance. The wait for the results dragged on. I sat in the waiting room, yet felt an unusual calm. Because I knew the child was Dick's, there was no doubt about it. She must be wondering how she can sabotage this evaluation. Too bad she's met her match this time. Hours later, the evaluation results arrived. The dean personally delivered the report, handing it to Dick. Dick opened the report, his eyes landing on the conclusion on the last page. The test confirms a 99.99% probability that the subject, Dick, is the biological father of the fetus. He lifted his head and looked at me, his expression so complex I couldn't decipher it. There was shock, confusion, and a hint of something I'd never seen before. Sally saw the look on his face and knew she'd lost. She lunged forward recklessly, trying to snatch the report. Impossible. This can't be. There must be some mistake. Dick sidestepped her and handed the report to Erin. After reading it, Erin exhaled a long sigh of relief. For the first time, her gaze toward me softened slightly. Good child. She took my hand and gave it a gentle pat. Sally, meanwhile, was screaming like a madwoman down the hallway. It's her. She must be behind this. She bribed the doctor. This report is fake. Her ridiculous outburst made everyone frown. Dick's face finally revealed undisguised disgust. Sally, have you had enough? He stepped in front of her, his voice as cold as ice. Starting today, I don't want to see you anymore. After the paternity test controversy, my status underwent a dramatic transformation. Erin's attitude toward me did a complete 180. She personally oversaw my meals every day, accompanied me on walks, and bought me a whole bunch of maternity and baby supplies. Dick began showing up at the old house more often. He no longer spoke to me in a cold, cutting tone. Though he still didn't say much, the look in his eyes when he looked at me was no longer icy and full of disgust. Sometimes he'd sit on the living room sofa, watching me, staring for what felt like an entire afternoon. His gaze made me feel completely uncomfortable. You dog of a man, now you regret it? Too late, Mom, ignore him. Let him stew. Let him taste what it's like to be ignored. I followed my baby's advice and pretended not to see him. When he came over, I retreated to my room. When he tried to talk to me, I pretended not to hear. After several such incidents, Dick's expression grew increasingly grim. He'd likely never endured such cold treatment in his life. That day, he finally couldn't hold back and intercepted me on my way back to my room. Hetty, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. I sidestepped him and tried to walk away. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. His hand was burning hot, making my heart skip a beat. What do you want? He stared at me, his voice tinged with a barely perceptible frustration. What do I want? I shook off his hand and stared at him coldly. Dick, have you forgotten our original agreement? Cash for goods, no strings attached. Now that the child's paternity has been confirmed, what more do you want? Are you trying to back out? I didn't. He protested urgently. Then please, stay away from me. I cut him off, turning and entering the room before slamming the door shut. Leaning against it, my heart still pounded wildly. Way to go. That's exactly how you handle him. Guys like him just crave attention. The more you ignore him, the more he'll come crawling back. I rubbed my belly and took a deep breath. Baby was right. With a guy like Dick, you can't give him the time of day. Meanwhile, Sally, utterly abandoned by Dick, finally got her comeuppance. Refusing to accept defeat, she actually hired people to kidnap me. Unfortunately, she severely underestimated the Dick family. Bodyguards are with me around the clock. Before her people could even get close to me, they were subdued by bodyguards and taken to the police station. Sally was also arrested for masterminding the kidnapping. This nightmare that had haunted me for 2 lifetimes was finally, completely over. After Sally went to prison, my life settled into complete tranquility. The stock price of Chiming technology has skyrocketed 100-fold. My investment, which started at 10 million, has ballooned into an astronomical figure I never dared imagine before. I've become a bona fide billionaire. I no longer lived at Dick's place. Instead, I used my own money to buy a penthouse luxury apartment overlooking the entire city's riverview. Erin had no objections whatsoever. In fact, she was even happier about it. She sees me as independent and self-reliant, not the kind of woman who clings to men like a parasitic plant. She visits me more often now, each time arriving with bags and packages, her gifts piling up to fill the entire living room. Dick's been following me around like a shadow, showing up here every single day. Today he brings flowers, tomorrow he brings supplements, and the day after that he shows up with a bunch of limited edition bags. I refuse to accept any of it, my bodyguards toss it all out. He never lost heart, showing up without fail every day. Sometimes he'd just sit on the bench below my apartment building, doing nothing, staying there all day long. Mom, look at him, doesn't he look like a golden retriever abandoned by its owner? A bit pitiful, but not too much. I watched the solitary figure below without a flicker of emotion. Pity? When I lost both lives in my past life, who pitied me? He deserves every bit of this. Time flew by, and before I knew it, my due date arrived. I was admitted to the city's finest private hospital and settled into the top-tier VIP delivery suite. Aaron and Dick stayed by my side the entire time, spinning like two whirling dervishes with nerves. After more than 10 hours of labor pains, I finally gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Her cry was loud and clear. When the nurse brought her to me, I looked at her wrinkled little face and tears instantly welled up in my eyes. Baby, my baby. This lifetime, Mommy finally brought you safely into this world. Mom, don't cry. I'm perfectly fine, aren't I? Look at me, aren't I super adorable? The little one was in my arms, waving her tiny hands and cooing softly. My tears turned to smiles. The hospital room door swung open, and Dick walked in. His eyes instantly welled up as he looked at my daughter in my arms. He approached cautiously, reaching out as if to touch the baby but hesitating. May I hold her? His voice was hoarse, filled with pleading. Seeing him like this, my heart suddenly softened. Humph, he's getting off easy. I gently placed my daughter into his arms. Dick held her as if cradling some priceless treasure. This man, who was ruthless and unstoppable in the business world, now seemed as clumsy as a child. He lowered his head and gently tapped his daughter's cheek with his finger. As if sensing his presence, she opened her eyes and flashed him a wide grin. Dick's tears could no longer be held back, falling one by one like raindrops. I turned my head away, unable to watch. After returning home from the hospital, my life became completely filled with my daughter. Feeding, changing diapers, rocking her to sleep. Though exhausting, seeing her grow day by day makes it all worthwhile. Dick has completely transformed into a doting daddy. He's cut out all unnecessary social engagements and shows up at our place punctually every day. He changes diapers with more skill than the nanny. When mixing formula, he measures the water temperature down to the nearest degree. He would lie on the floor, letting his daughter ride him like a horse while she tugged at his hair. He would tell her nonsensical stories in the most childish voice. He gave all his patience and tenderness to our daughter. Erin couldn't stop smiling as she watched her son's transformation. More than once she told me, Hetty, you know, Dick's always been a stubborn boy. All these years, this is the first time I've ever seen him like this. You too, really won't give it some thought? I just smile every time, saying nothing. What is there to consider? Getting back together with him? I admit, seeing the changes he's made for our daughter has touched me. But the pain from our past is like a deep scar etched into my heart. I dare not, and do not want to, take that gamble again. On my daughter's first birthday, Dick had a huge surprise planned for me. He rented out the entire amusement park, filled the sky with colorful balloons, and set off massive fireworks that spelled out Hetty, marry me across the night sky. He knelt on one knee before me, holding up a large diamond ring, his eyes sincere and earnest. Hetty, I know I've made many mistakes in the past and hurt your heart. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away, but I hope you'll give me a chance to take care of you and our daughter for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me? Everyone was staring at me, including my babbling toddler in my arms. Mom, look at him, he seems pretty sincere. His performance this past year barely passes. How about giving him one more chance? I looked into Dick's eyes, filled with anticipation and nervousness, then glanced at my delicate, porcelain-skinned daughter in my arms. In that moment, my heart softened like never before. I finally accepted Dick's proposal. Not for any other reason, but simply so my daughter can have a complete family. And also, to give myself a chance. A chance to believe in love again, to embrace happiness. Our wedding was grand and solemn. That day, dressed in a pure white wedding gown, I walked arm in arm with Dick, step by step, toward the Hall of Happiness. Our daughter wore a pink little dress as our flower girl, wobbling along ahead with her tiny legs, adorable as a little angel. Below the stage, Erin was already crying her eyes out. I knew she was genuinely happy for us. As he took the vows, Dick looked at me, speaking each word solemnly and with deep affection. I, Dick, take you, Hetty, to be my lawful wife. For better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, I will cherish you, honor you, and protect you, until death do us part. My tears couldn't help but fall. They were tears of happiness, and tears of release. My life had been stolen once. But now, I've taken it back with dignity. Life after marriage was quiet and blissful. Dick spoiled me like a princess and doted on our daughter like a little princess. The three of us lived like royalty. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I still dream of my past life. I remember that version of myself who died in despair in that rented room. Whenever this happens, Dick holds me tight and tells me over and over again, I'm sorry. I love you. I know he was apologizing to my past self. And I, long ago, reconciled with the past in the happiness of this life. As for those who hurt me, they have long since vanished from my life, turned to dust. The sun was shining brightly, and the breeze was gentle. Sitting on the swing in the garden with Dick, we watched our daughter chasing butterflies on the lawn not far away. Her giggles, like silver bells, were the most beautiful music in the world. Leaning against Dick's shoulder, I thought to myself, this must be what they mean by peaceful days.